Hey everybody, Baron5X here. Today gonna be a little bit different. Kind of rant about something, and we'll kind of see how I put it all together. But in the last week or two, there's just been a lot of videos that I've seen circulating around the ZZZ YouTube, and even a little bit of TikTok. I think I think there was the first time I even saw a TikTok about this was maybe a month ago, but it seems like the conversation really picked up in this last week or two. It was about HP inflation in ZZZ Zone Zero, and how Hoyo and ZZZ devs have incorporated it, what that means as players and our interaction with the game when it comes to that. And I was definitely seeing a lot of different opinions about it, and I figured I really wanted to put my 2 cents in for it. I don't know that I think it's super necessary. I think, thankfully, I think a lot of the discourse was already done on this, but I wanted to offer a little bit of my own perspective to see if it chimed with anybody about it. I have to say that my experience has come from coming from a particular way that I think one or two people have mentioned, but I might dive. I'm probably going to dive a little bit deeper into it. But anyway, what am I talking about here? So I think particularly around one particular YouTube character. Gosh, and now I'm forgetting his name. I didn't mean to forget his name. Saint Ontas? I don't even know how to pronounce his name. Like Saint-Tonas? Okay, I'll just say Saint-Tonas. I think that's how his name was pronounced. So I heard other people pronounce it that way, right? Anyway, so like I said, even like I swear I saw some TikTok videos about it at one point, and then eventually this conversation got picked up the last couple of weeks, where he was going through. Yeah, I'm probably even just gonna play the clip here at this point. And he was playing through ZZZ Zone Zero. It seems like it was from a couple patches ago. I had to be post Miyabi because that was part of what was being said here. And I mean, you can see from the clip that he's already talking about HP inflation. That's like the thesis of the video that he made a while ago, and he's just, the way he's playing was very poor. And like, I don't mean that like I don't know what this person's ability is in games in general or anything like that, but as someone who mains Bernice a lot of the times, I think that something that really caught me off guard was that like he was literally admitting that I don't know what I'm doing with this character. I'm just gonna go for it. I'm just like, what do you mean go for it? Like I don't know what in the game made him think that was viable. Or maybe I didn't know that. Maybe I've been playing too long and I'm forgetting how things were when I first started playing the game, right? But every character has a pretty unique way of doing things that seems like you should read up on. And to that point, like every time there's a character banner, there's like that tutorial that they give you to get in exchange for some polychrome, right? So you can learn the actual character. Now I play those all the time. I played those on stream before, and a lot of this time is just to get the rewards. But sometimes it's just good just to learn a little bit about the character, right? So in that case, when he's talking about like I'm just mashing buttons with Bernice for the most part, it's like, well, no, you can't do that with Bernice. Like that, you can't do that. So that was going on, and then even before today, as hours before I decided to record this video, like there was another clip that I was watching someone else's video. I think his name was EO. EOXS. That's who he is. That creator. And I think he was the one that I was seeing most of the videos on the last couple of weeks talk about this, right? And he was reacting to a clip of his. Well, not even reacting to the clip. He was using a clip of Saint-Tonas to illustrate a point he was trying to make about gameplay and about how to get better at the game in general. But even in that clip that he showed, like the new character Hugo that's out at the time of this recording. Even I haven't pulled Hugo. I didn't pull Hugo. The only time I played Hugo was in the story, and again in that tutorial that came up with Hugo, that kind of tells you what to do. And this is where I'll say maybe I'm in it in a deeper way, because I've seen, even before Hugo came out, I saw all the early videos, the special program, the description of what Hugo's moveset is and what it did. Because the basis of what Hugo does is he's about, he's a burst DPS, I think is what the terminology is. And he does all his damage during the stun window. His abilities do not work unless they are done in the stun window. And that's what the Totalize is about. Totalize is his way of getting incredible damage while an enemy is stunned. Part of what that ability does is that once it applies this extra bonus damage called Totalize, it immediately pulls them out of stun. And then you're back to your whatever rotations and whatever moves you do to get them back into stun, right? So in the video that EOXS was watching to illustrate a point, there's Sentanas going there and like he gets the enemy to the stun window, and then he uses the extra special ability, which causes Totalize to occur, which does that massive damage. And then he immediately, again, it takes him out of stun once that happens. So now the enemy is no longer in a vulnerable state to make the most of the Totalize, right? And then Santanas immediately uses the ultimate that's now available to him, which also causes Totalize damage, except that because the enemy is no longer in stun, it's not going to do the damage. All of this to say is that, like, all the while he's mentioning how, like, oh, this character doesn't do any damage. This character doesn't do any damage. He's complaining about the character. And then I'm going to admit now that I didn't watch this much more before that moment and after that moment to see if he learned anything after that. I think his chat was also helping him out, so he was getting cues from chat about what to do next. But kind of rolling back to the early example where he was going in and like not learning the game, and then he was trying to use that to make this point that this game is too hard, or this game requires you to get certain characters, or like certain characters aren't being damaged, aren't immune like the way they say they're immune. It's all over the place, these complaints that don't seem founded to me. It seems like enough work wasn't being done to learn how to get the mechanics of the game, the mechanics of individual characters. Because another thing I guess I need to preface this whole thing is that I don't play gacha games besides Zenless Zone Zero. I think this gentleman does. I think even EOXS does. A lot of these content creators, most of them that I know of that watch came from other gacha games, and then gravitated to Zenless Zone Zero. So I don't know if experience from other gacha games created an expectation that maybe you don't need to read character info or take tutorials. Things just should be intuitive in some way. And I'm not trying to be facetious when I'm trying to say that. It's just I really don't know where people are coming from with this, right? As someone who is new to this, and just I'm going to say that new to this kind of gameplay gacha games, but also someone who's just played games. Those tutorials are there for a reason. Yeah, I know. And if anyone ever watches me play on my other channel, man, there are times where maybe I rush through a tutorial, but I also go into it understanding that I didn't learn tutorial. I'm not playing optimally here. I didn't learn what I should have learned. Or even when I do run through a tutorial, I might miss something, or maybe I didn't grasp the concept as a whole that the game was trying to teach me, right? But just seems like, yeah, you should probably learn your characters. Learn the synergies of all these different characters on the ZZZ roster, and that's going to get you past all the end game. In my experience so far, at least until recently, because until recently I've gotten extra mindscapes for a few of the anomaly agents, right? But before that, like all the way up until 1.5, before I messed it into my anomaly agents, yeah, there was more than a few fights that were like, man, this is tough. I need to re-examine how I play these characters, what their synergies are. What I had to go through my discs again to see, like, oh, is this the right disc combo? Should I change it to something else? Should I farm an extra disc to make sure there's more stats on this one? Yeah, and again, a lot of it is just like, okay, I need learning boss patterns, learning when I should be dodging, learning when I should take the parry, put out my support character for the buffs, and then roll right back into the attack character, or et cetera, et cetera. Just, it was about learning that synergy. And I think ever since Deadly Assault, for sure, I can't remember Shiyu Defense how successful I was over time, but at least since Deadly Assault was released, ever since 1.4, sometimes it's come easier sometimes than most. But I don't know, I've made sure that I've learned, used whatever characters I had available to me at the time, learned different synergies, spread out my teams, especially on Deadly Assault, where you gotta spread out the teams because you gotta form 3 different teams and you can't duplicate anybody to get success. Like, I thankfully, through force of will and what I believe is learning the game, I've been able to get like 9 stars on Deadly Assault ever since the mode came out, right? Good on me, right? But to me, that's always been about learning the game and like trying to understand, again, rotations, which is not a word I used a whole lot before I started watching content creators, because for me that was it's just like learning the moves, what works when and what doesn't work at other times, right? Team synergies, what characters complement each other, so or what characters take advantage of the current weaknesses on the bosses. Because yeah, Deadly Assault and Shiyu Defense, to me, oftentimes, I almost think factually too, for sure, but I won't say that with full confidence, but they definitely do tend to lean on the current capabilities of whoever's on the banner, and I understand them doing that. That incentivizes pulling for the character, right? But a lot of those, unless the mechanic is brand new, like when we had Aftershock in 1.5, that was brand new, so unless you had an Aftershock character, you really couldn't take advantage of it. There's still other things to take advantage of, like certain buffs that were part of those stages, certain ways to debuff characters, either by or debuff bosses, either by implementing certain mechanics within the fight, or just using type advantage where you can use them, right? But yeah, but all of that what that necessitated was understanding what the stage was, what resources and what characters I had available to me, and sometimes just brute force play again and again and again to learn the best patterns, learn the best habits while in that fight. And the connection I'm going to make that I haven't seen maybe about once or twice made to it, but it's important for me because, again, it's important to the other channel that I tend to game on, was all the Dark Souls games. I think I've spent out of half of the last 2 years playing like Elden Ring, and like even before that Sekiro, and before that Dark Souls 3, and Bloodborne back in the day. Like I've played my fair share of Elden Ring games. And a lot of that game is being punished for not using your abilities and your resources and your techniques to maybe not always the very best they need to be, but good, but at least a certain level depending on what boss you're fighting. And understand that not all bosses are fought equally. In Elden Ring, I tended to use a ranged faith build, right? A lot of ranged attacks, a lot of lightning, a lot of fire, and there's a lot of times where I could totally cook a boss enemy, and sometimes I couldn't, and I would fight a boss 40 times, and I would optimize what I was doing to the best of my ability, because I think there's some things I still couldn't quite optimize, and only in the end to realize, okay, I'm getting beat up here. I either need to do another 40 fights and improve what I'm doing now, or I need to switch strategies. And there was a couple of bosses, including the final boss of that game, of the DLC, I should say, Radahn, where every tactic I have used up to the game until now, just about, totally failed. Like, I could just not get past that boss. I think I spent like double-digit on-stream hours fighting Radahn, trying to learn everything I could about when certain attacks hit, when they don't hit, when I can dodge, what can I block, right? And again, I was a ranged faith build player, right? And added to that is that I was purposely not going to reset my skills. I had a certain build that I was going to make. I was challenging myself. I was going to make it work the whole time. So I was doing all this on top of like challenging myself. That I wasn't just going to go like respec into all beefy tank option to increase my survivability. No, I had my character, I had my stats. I was going to make the most of that with whatever items I had available to me, whatever weapons I had available to me. Come up with a combination of abilities, skills, and player skills, and items that would get me to the finish line. And it turned out I had to create like a parry build, like a better term. And by that I mean I only had I equipped a shield that was good for the purpose. I equipped some accessories that was good for purpose, but I didn't change any of my stats. But I went in, after playing the whole game as a ranged magic user with like a rapier. I think I still technically used rapier in the game, but I parried. I parried my way to victory again after like 10 plus hours of trying to figure everything else out. And that game is super hard. That game is like purposely trying to punish you. That game wants you to suffer. It is just how FromSoft makes their games, right? But it was, filled me with pride to get past it, right? So how does that go with Zenless Zone Zero? For one thing, I don't think Zenless Zone Zero is nearly as hard. Not nearly as hard. Still challenging, and you can make it challenging depending on what you do. Like, for example, I'm on stream. When I have free time, I've been doing like a battle tower run with A rank characters, right? So challenging myself, right? But despite how challenging things are in Zenless Zone Zero right now, and how more challenging to make them, whether that's through gameplay mechanics, whether that's through HP inflation, which I'll come back to in a sec. The game so far, I think, makes it very accessible. As long as you're willing to, again, learn your character mechanics, learn synergies, invest a little bit into your disc, and sometimes even that's not wholly necessary. Like you should do a little, the minimum when it comes to that. But it isn't like you're going to have to spend days like farming the best discs in order to beat certain things. I mean, unless you have, unless you have all like A-rank characters. But there are people who are taking on endgame content with only A-rank characters. Well, they make videos about one fight with A-rank characters. I don't know if. I guess the point is that there are groups of A-rank team comps that can take on endgame currently, which I'm not at that level yet. I don't think. I don't even think I have enough A-rank characters built up to accomplish it. But it shows that the game is not impossibly difficult. There's just certain things you have to learn, certain things you have to get used to, certain gameplay habits you need to get into, refine your abilities, refine your player skills in order to achieve victory in this endgame content. And I think that's what I wanted to I think make clear, because again, and maybe it's just this one guy, but he seemed like he was dead set on like I'm going to put little effort into this, and if I'm not immediately able to clear the endgame content, something is wrong with the game. Which I don't agree with. I think it's more fun if the endgame has stuff that is particularly challenging. And the nice thing about Zenless Zone Zero, I think, again, not having experienced other gacha games, so I don't know how other gacha games handle their in-game content, but it seems like the polychrome, which is probably the most important thing you can obtain as a quest reward is not locked behind getting 9 stars in Deadly Assault. You get 6 stars in total in Deadly Assault, and you get all the polychrome rewards. Beyond that, you get extra money or like upgrade materials, which is supposed to be a bonus for those of us that can make the achievement, right? So at the very least, you don't have to get all 9 stars in order to get the materials you need for pulling characters. So if you get your 6 stars, you get polychrome. Fantastic. You want a little extra? You got to do a little extra, and that's how I've always read it. That outside of the fact that I'm just challenging myself and I want to get 9 stars by whatever combination means necessary of what tools and resources I have available to me. That's the fun of the challenge mode, is being able to see if you can do it, if you're capable of doing it with what you have. And again, some weeks were harder than others. And there was times where I yelled, I cursed that I couldn't beat a certain enemy, right? Even in Elden Ring, there was times where I said, this boss is so unfair, this isn't right, this can't be right. I'll admit, I'll be the first one to admit that I take these challenges on kicking and screaming until the very end, where I go, yeah, I did it! I finally did it! And then all my complaints go away. Because I'm just so excited and ecstatic that I finally defeated said boss in whichever these games you're doing. Like, again, Battle Tower, A rank. I think I spent like an hour in the same boss, just getting my ass beat, just because, I was just getting my ass beat, and I was getting upset. I was getting frustrated. But once I finally was able to do it, I was such euphoria. I was like, I finally did it. Like I cursed my way through it, but I did it. And but yes, yeah, so the point I'm making there in the end is that you should make it a point to learn the game. Take the learning tools that the game is giving you so that you understand what you're doing instead of just button mashing. Like, I don't know what the fun in that would be, honestly, if you thought you could just get away with button mashing and get through the game. You can kind of do that with the story content to a degree. Sometimes not. But yeah, in-game content, no, you gotta try for that. And I think that's just part of the fun. That's part of the challenge. And again, if you're worried about future pulls, the bar for that is lower than the extra rewards you get if you get past 6 stars or not, and that kind of thing. I think Shield Defense requires you to get full S rank to get all the rewards for that, so that might be a little bit different. And I think that's where a lot of their HP inflation conversation is coming from, because specific to HP inflation, yes, HP for endgame bosses has steadily increased since the beginning of the game, which I think makes sense. In the beginning, not everyone had a lot of upgraded characters, for multiple team comps that were viable. So as players got stronger, of course the enemies had to get a little stronger to compensate for that. Is HP inflation the only tool they should use to make things harder? Absolutely not. If they're just going to keep, make these into meat shields, just punching bags and nothing else, then that will get repetitive and boring, and that feels like as much as an accomplishment compared to fighting a boss with actual mechanics you have to get around and overcome in order to win the fight. Don't just pad these bosses of HP and call it a day, right? Like do a little more than that, and that's a valid criticism and complaint. Not one that I fully share just yet. Again, maybe this is just my experience of only having one gacha, so I'm just kind of happy here. but I couldn't say I would fault anyone for saying that the devs should spice things up a little bit instead of just relying on the one-trick pony of HP increases over time. I think that's inevitable. I think as there's more characters, more powerful characters come out, that HP is going to be one of the things that has to increase in order to keep up with the player base. But you can do more than that. You can introduce other mechanics. At least I think you can. I'm not a game developer, so maybe what I'm saying is not possible and harder than it actually is. But I'd like to think so. But yeah, I think that's pretty much the rant I wanted to throw out there. That the age-old FromSoft, Dark Souls, Soulsborne stuff of get good kind of applies here. And I mean, there used to be a point where I used to see get good and be really annoyed about it, and I'm still not totally opposed to that. And I don't want to say to anyone get good, because honestly, I feel like more often than not that's said with like as unhelpful criticism and unfriendly criticism. Even though there's people who swear that no, get good just means we want you to do better. Sure, I believe they exist, but I feel like most people that use get good mean it in a derogatory way. So I won't use it that way. But definitely do learn the game. The ZZZ especially does have a lot of information you can digest to improve your gameplay. And if not through the game itself, there's plenty of video creators that show off how they do things, explain how they do things. EOXS being one of them. I appreciate a lot of his videos. Today I just learned, playing the game for 10, 11 months. Those armored dogs, I knew you can get rid of the armor of them. Until today, I thought it was just the armor was shed after you did enough damage to them at some point. Today I learned that's a parry mechanic. I should show the clip here. Insert clip.
I'm gonna demo and then we'll watch. Way better players. There we go. Parry, that's 1. That's 2. And that's 3. The armor's gone. Now we can go all out.
And it's a parry mechanic. Once you parry them enough times, then they lose the armor and they become way more vulnerable. I don't know how I missed that after fighting so many of those armored dogs. Hundreds of them. I wish they kept count like in HSR. Thanks to my friend who showed me that that's the thing they do. You can keep counting how many times you fought those things. I feel like I fought 100 of them at this point. And that's what it was. I was supposed to parry them. So yeah. As the guy who's saying that everyone should study up and read things, I'm not doing enough of that apparently. I think even after all this time, there's still plenty of things I can still learn about the game. There's still certain skills, certain rotations, certain technical abilities that players have been able to make use of that I haven't fully learned yet. So, there's always something to strive for, and I love that. Out of the many things I love about Zenless Zone Zero, that the gameplay and how it can be expanded and scaled and just how much fun it is and how kinetic it is and all that. I love that. So the idea of always having a new horizon to look towards, it's just another great thing about the game to me. So I appreciate it. I appreciate you all listening to me rant here. I haven't done a video like this except maybe once, but I think this is definitely more freeform ranting than any video I've done before. So if you liked the video, please subscribe to my channel. I really would appreciate it. Get more views. Trying to break 1,000 at some point, and if I do, that's probably when I'll open up a Discord server and probably give out some prizes as thanks for getting me to 1,000. Whenever we get there, I think we still have like 200 plus before we reach that part, but I really would like to get there. So please subscribe, follow me here on YouTube, follow me on Twitch and TikTok. I have a TikTok as well if you're prepared to see some condensed content. But yeah, thank you again for watching my video. Please let me know your thoughts if you had any feedback for what I'm thinking, what I'm saying. I hope I articulate everything well here. And I hope to see all your ZZ videos pop up on YouTube and TikTok and see how everyone's doing, how we're all keeping ourselves alive in new era. So until next time, adios amigos.